Okay, so I want to show you how I do the couching stitch, and what I am using is a metallic thread, which is the bane of all cross stitching and embroidery work. I 100% agree. But there's two ways I use it. I do the couching stitch. I do not back stitch. I think back stitching kind of makes it look like little dashes instead of a continuous line. And I like the look of a continuous line without like little dash marks through. You can do couching stitch anywhere you want to do back stitch, and I am just putting in some detail in my chickadee and winter berries. So first thing is the horrible metallic thread. And if you can see here, it is metal thread. Let's see, what can I do here? If I do it that close, it's metal thread wrapped around just fiber. And it is horrible. So I limit how much I use it, but I really thought it really did give some pizzazz to my chickadee and winter berries. So the first thing is, did I lose? Oh, there I have my needle. Okay. Is to not do long lengths. So I'm first going to show you how to do short distances with it. And I would say like short distances would be, I don't know, what is that? Like maybe 1, 2, can I focus? 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5-ish, 3 jumps of the squares. One key to it is to not use a very long strand. So that's number one. And I am the queen of I like long strands. So use a short strand. And then I always do use my very long needle. Make sure, like I switched because my eye from my other needle I was using was half that distance. You want a slightly larger eye because it does fray. You want a fresh cut end. Once it starts to fray, you just need to snip down a little bit so that you have a fresh cut. I don't lick it or wet it or anything. To me, that doesn't help. What I do is I take my thumb and my finger and I try and flatten it basically. It's very short. It's not sticking up very much, just a tiniest bit between my finger and my thumb. And then I take my needle and then I just kind of press it basically over where, that little bump off my finger and my thumb is. I just try and hit that mark and then pull it through. If you force it, if you don't have all of it, it'll start to unravel. So, so a bigger head, if you're having troubles, then even go a bigger head than that. A bigger opening in the head, I should say. Okay, so I've done that. I've done all those. So now I'm here. So I'm going to, okay. So to start it, I am just going to find a loop-de-doo, a couple of loop-de-doos to go underneath. And then I'm going to go around that last one and make a loop. All right, so the way you couch, if you don't have a long distance, this is the farthest I would do with one strand, is you're going to go the full distance, the 3 or 4, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then before I pull it tight, I'm going to come up. I'm going to go underneath that loop if I think which depending on what side I want it on. And then I'm just going to go over. See what I'm just going over. I am doing this through a camera. and I'm just locking it down with a tiny little micro loop. And that's how you couch. So let me do it again. So I'm going to come up and see on this one, it curves. It's not straight. It goes in diagonally across the square and then come down. That's okay. I'm just going to go the length. This is the longest I do it this way. So then to get it to make that bend, I'm just going to come up, make sure I'm underneath the loop, and then it'll bend it over. And I just like the look of that better than a true back stitch, because it doesn't look like a 1980s circa arcade computer-ish looking. So then I'm going to, like I said, find 3 just little loop-de-doos, 2, 3. And that's how I do if the distance isn't very long. So now let me show you what I do if the distance is longer. Okay, if the distance is longer, I'm going to use 2 strands. And again, this metallic stuff is not fun, so I'm going to make sure that it's snipped very blunt. And then I'm going to squeeze it tight between my fingers, just where there's a teeny tiny bit sticking out. And then I'm just going to try and get this to go over most of it. And I got lucky with one. And what you can do is you don't have to do them both at the same time. You can take this, bend it down so that it's not in the way, hopefully. And then try it again. Squeeze this. Try and get most of it to go through. And then pull it through. That's why maybe having a fatter hole is a good idea. Now I grabbed 2 threads that are not the same length. So I'm going to come down here. All right, now that's okay. So I don't have that long of a string. That's kind of critical. Okay, so let's do this piece of snow. So I want to start here and go all the way to there. So that's way longer than I would do with one strand. So I'm going to lock off. And this is the way I couch, whether I'm using metallic or not. The metallic is just extra fun. Okay, so I have 2 strands on my needle. I'm going to come to the front with both strands. Then I'm going to take 1 strand off. Make sure that they're divided all the way down to the bottom. So this one is on my needle. This one is not. So this one's going to stay on top. This one I'm going to couch with. So I am going to lay the loosey-goosey strand the direction I'm going, just in general. I'm not going to have it be off this way. I'm going to lay it just the general direction I'm going. Then, and this is the same whether you're, doing in a hoop or not. I kind of have my thumb on it just to help it kind of stay where I want it to. Then this one that has the needle, I'm going to take back down underneath. So strand on top, no needle, strand underneath, needle. My rule of thumb, so first off, I have a fractional stitch that goes diagonally up. So I'm going to go up And I'm just literally looping around that loose thread and then pulling down. Not hard. I'm not pulling hard. If I pull hard, then I will pull the whole thing out. You can take this loose strand and pull it up and kind of play around with the tension. Now I have 1, 2 across, which is good. I like to go about 2-ish of a jump. Same thing, I'm just going to wrap around, make a loop around the thread on top, and then pull underneath. And again, I can lift up with this one until I think I have it laying nicely. Then it's going to diagonally go up. So I'm going to go up to that hole, go around, and come down, not pulling hard. I can also pull straight with this to even out my thread. You know, I can just play with how nicely it's laying. I'm going to go 2, go around this, go down the same hole, and then I'm going to pull this and play with just how nicely it's laying. And then I'm going to come up 2 more, go down over that thread. That's what couching is you are putting loops across a piece of thread, usually a different piece of thread, so that it lays, it's like basically sewn down. Okay, then I'm going to diagonally come down 1 square, and then across. Now I have 1 more to go. It would not be necessary for me to loop this because I only have 1 more to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this together with my thumb, so if I pull on the thread, I have it pinched underneath. I'm going to pull the needle out, and I'm just going to now rethread the top fabric. I'm going to snip off so it's a very sharp end, pinch it between my fingers, help it go through the needle. And then since I only have 1 more to go, so since this is the last stitch, we're going to just go down with the top stitch. And then on the back side, they should be relatively close together. I mean, you have to be careful, you know, you want to give a little tug, but don't, you know, just be aware of how much you're tugging. And then probably they're not going to match up now. So we're going to cut them and see if we get lucky this time, threading them both at the same time. So the key is to pinch hard. Oh, look at that, I did it. Pinch hard together. And then, again, you're just going to finish them off. So I hit the camera. You know, finish them off the same way. So that is how I do couching stitch. This time I did it with metallic thread, but I do it with just regular thread. Anytime you see anything that looks like a back stitch in my patterns, or if I'm just doing something original work and want to outline something, I am using this method. Here I used the white. The difference of the white with the background wasn't quite enough for me, and so I just came in with the wing color, and that is all couching stitch. So that's how a more contrast of a couching stitch looks. So you can see my little micro tiny little loops, but that is a more, to me, desirable way to do outlining if I need to, and I try and minimize outlining, but sometimes it's just necessary. Then with back stitch. So there you go.